Hello everyone. So today we will start off with the next module of freeCodeCamp, that is learn basic CSS by building a cafe menu. So let's get started by the first step. So here is a preview of what you will build. So you can see that we will learn CSS through this page. Okay, so it's nothing but a heading and then a paragraph, then a horizontal rule, then another heading, then a icon, then there are some spacing, and you can see that spacing. Then we have another logo, then this is link, anchor tag, and this is the footer thing here, and this is also a horizontal rule. So let's start coding. So as you learned in the last steps of cat photo app, there is a basic structure needed to start building your web page. So let's get started with that. Doc type, HTML, okay, then we choose a language, HTML lang equal to string English, then closing the HTML tag, okay, and that's it. Control enter. Let's move to the next step. So we have to now jump into the head section. Let's make it a head section. Okay, so some indentation. We require a title, by the way, so let's write a title. So cafe menu should come inside this tag of title. Now let's move ahead. Step 3. Now we have to do some other thing like meta. Now remember, meta is a self-closing tag, so let's simply write char set as an attribute, set to UTF-8. So that's it. Move to step 4. Okay, just ask me later this. Now we have to make a body. Okay, so let's make body here. Now let's jump to the next section. It's time to add some menu content, So we'll start off with the element which is called main, as we have done it earlier as well. So simply write main and control enter. Okay, so I think I made some mistake. Let's check if it is. So I have to also write main here. It will not work until I complete writing in both of these. 6th step. Okay, so we have to put the h1 heading in here, so let's put it there. Okay, h1, it's camper cafe, so let's write it inside it, or let's copy it from here. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, next thing is actually a paragraph. So we will write this established in 2020. Control enter. Let's move forward. Now there is a section after the main, so what it is saying. Let's read it once. So there will be two sections on the menu, one for the coffees and one for the desserts. Add a section element within the main. So we have to add it within the main. Okay, we don't have to go outside the main. So let's make a section. So we have to make two section here. Okay, copy this, paste it. Okay, just some indentation work to be done. Yeah, so now move ahead. Step 9, create an h2 element in the section. Okay, so this is the first section, so let's make h2 for it. h2 coffee. Let's move to step 10. So what we have to do here, we have to, okay, so up till now you have been limited regarding the presentation and the appearance of the content you create. To start taking control and add style element within the head element, so we can actually add a style element. So let's create a style element. Okay, now it's done. Let's move to step 11. Now this is something, I think if you are doing CSS for first time, then this might be new to you. So let me explain what it is. It is something where we actually picks element and then actually aligns it with having some properties. So here we are going to align this element of h1 to center. So what we have to do here, we first have to grab that element by saying by simply writing that element's name. So as you know that what is the name of that element, so it is h1, so we have to write h1 and then curly braces, and then we have to write the property, that is text align. Property is text align. Okay, this is normal CSS. Center, and that's it. You can see that this camper cafe is now in the center. So that's it. Now let's move forward. Now this is step 12. In the previous step you use type selector to select the h1 element center the, okay, we have to also do the center here for these two elements. So like we just did for h1, and we have to similarly do it for h2 as well. Similar thing we have to do, text line and write text center, and don't forget that you have to also put a semicolon in here. And similar thing will be done for paragraph. So simply copying it and pasting it. We'll also write P here, and now it works. Now let's see what, now as I was telling, you can actually put all these three in a single type selectors. You don't have to write all these three separately. You can actually write it in few lines of markup. So let's do it now. Just have to remove it from here and just remove it. Now after this h1, just put a comma and put h2, another comma, put p. So you can see it now. It is happening in a very similar way, but with lesser line of code. Now let's see see here now that the freeCodeCamp has created a style.css file for you, and this was the html.index file that we were actually working on. So this was the file that we have initially worked upon, and this is the new file that freeCodeCamp has created for us. So what we have to do, we actually have to write the CSS that we just have written here, this in this style tag, in this style element. So we don't have to write it in the same page as of the index.html. We will write it inside the style.css. So we will simply do that. Now let's move to style.css and start by writing the styles that you have created into the style.css file, and make sure to exclude the opening and close. So we just have to similarly write, we just have to copy it, that we have just done in here, copy it, paste it in here. So that's it, that's what we have to do. Let's move to next step. Now that you have CSS in this style.css file, go ahead and remove this style. So we just have to remove this that we just created in this head tag. So it is removed now. Let's move to next step. Now step 16, you need to link style.css. So what you have to do here is that to write a link tag, you have to create a link tag. So remember that link tag is not a self-closing tag, it has to be closed by a closing tag, so don't do it. Now put rel equal to style sheet, and this href equal to that file, that is styles.css. That's it. Let's move to next step. So let's move to next step, that is step 17. So what we have to do here, put another meta tag, name equals viewport content equal this. So you can copy it, by the way, no need to write it all. That is width equal to device width, initial scale equal to 1.0. so just put it inside it, paste it, control enter. Let's move to step 18. The text is centered again, so link to the CSS file is working. Add another style to the file that changes the background color property to brown for the body. So we will write body, we'll write background color brown. That's it. Let's move to next step, step 19. Now we don't want this color to be a complete brown, we want it to be blurry wood. So we'll write blurry wood here. So it is a little good than complete brown. Let's move to step 20. The div element is used mainly for design layout purposes, unlike the other content element you have used so far. So we have to add a div. So we have to actually make a div element here and making it, then put all this section of main into this. Okay, and then you have to also give this div a ID that is equal to menu. What you have to do here, the goal now is to make the div not take up the entire width of the page. So we have to specify width. Okay, So we only have to do something like, we will go here and write hashtag menu, then write, we will write here width, and then 300 pixels. Okay, that's it. Now there is one thing, if I actually open it and tally, you can see that it is only taking 30% of the width. So comments in CSS look like, yeah, okay, this is the comment in CSS style sheet, comment out the line containing this. So we just have to, there's a shortcut for commenting, that is control slash. So we just have to do it, and then everything which is there, it will be made as a comment. So let's move to the step 23. Now use existing menu selector to select the background color. Okay, so we have to just put it here, we just have to put that background color here. Blurry wood. So that's it. Now you can see that it is only inside this, div, because it is a div, so now let's move to next step, and that is, now it's easy to see that text is centered inside the menu. So that this text is actually centered inside this menu div, but we want it to be centered in the entire body. So what we have to do is actually uh, make its width to 80% of its parent body. So we'll make it 80%. So let's see what happens when we make 80%. So okay, change the width property of value to be 80%. It make 80% of it width to its parent element body of its parents element body. So yeah, that's it. Now let's see what we can do. Yeah. Step 25. Next, you want to center the menu horizontally. So we have to center it horizontally. You can see that this is not centered horizontally now, but okay, it has been centered horizontally through these kind of, classes like this. So what we have to do here is, next step, you want to center the menu horizontally. You can do this by aligning. So what we have to do here, we just have to put, not div, we'll put hash menu, and that's it. I think that's what we have to do. So it's margin left auto and margin right auto as well. So we will talk about it, what it is. So that's it. It actually, the margin from left is auto and the margin from right is also auto. So it actually, makes it centered horizontally. So that's why these classes are used. Now let's move to next step. Okay, next step 26. So far you have been using type and ID selectors to select element. However, it is more common to use a different selector to style your element. So there's something called class selector also, which you can use by just putting a dot inside in front of it. So let's get started. Okay, so you just have to replace these ID with menu. So I think you don't have to go to the index.html right now. Just have to replace it by a dot here only. Yeah, and the next step we will go to this and change this id to a class. Okay, that's it. Now let's move to the next step, that is to delete what is inside this. This is a comment. Let's delete it, and then we just have to put a URL in here. So we just have to write something called background image and then URL, and then using this curly braces, using this parenthesis, just have to put this CDN link inside this URL. Okay, so copy this CDN link and paste it inside here. That's it. Now you can see that these coffee beans coming in here. So that's it. Now it's looking good. Time to start adding some menu items. Add an empty article element under the coffee heading. It will contain a flavor and price of each coffee you currently offer. So you just have to use an empty article. So there is a thing called article element. Just have to make it. That's it. Now this article will contain the content, so we have to make a paragraph inside it. Okay, so article element commonly contains multiple elements that have related information. In this case, it will contain a coffee flavor and price for that flavor. Nest two paragraphs inside the article element. The first one should be French vanilla, and second is 3.00. So just copy it, paste it. We'll copy this French vanilla from here, paste it in here, and also copy this and paste it in here. Okay, that's it. As you can see that we have all these things, so as we just did, we just have to repeat it again. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy. So I think these much are enough. Let's see how many of these are. Let's move to next step, step 32. Step 32. So they all are stacked on top of each other. So they are all stacked on top of each others. So we have to correct this. So how to do it? So it would be nice if the flavor was on the left and the price was on the right. Add the class flavor to the French vanilla. Okay, so we have to add a class flavor. Let's move forward. Similarly, now you have to do what? Pick a class. How to pick class? By putting a dot in here, then write flavor, then put these curly braces, then write text align left. You can see that it is on the left now. So step 34. Next, you want to align the price to the right. Add the class named price to the P. So you just have to add a class in here named as price and just that. Let's move to next step. Now we have to put another, okay, so we have, just have to write price dot price, then curly braces, then text align, then write. That's it. So yeah, but you can see that this is inline, so they are not coming just next to each other, so we have to deal with it. Now this is kind of what you want, but now it would be nice if the flavor and the price were on the same line. Yeah, that is what I was saying. P element are block level elements, so the paragraphs are block level, so they acquire all the block, this horizontal block. So they take up the entire width of their parent element. To get them on the same line, you need to apply some styling to the P, so they behave more like inline element. To do that, start by adding class attribute with the value item to the first article under the coffee heading. Okay, so we have to add item as a class for this article, and that's it. Now let's move to next step. Now we have to come in here and say item then paragraph. This is how we actually select both the things, the item as well as the paragraph which is in it. Okay, and then we have to close, put curly braces, then we just have to write using the above selector display inline block. Okay, display inline block, that's it. Yeah, so now it's completely inline, so they both are inline. Now there is one more thing to know, that they are both just very close to each other, so we have to separate them. Now that's closer, but the price didn't stay over the right. Okay, this is because inline block element take up the width of the content. To spread them out, okay, so we have to do what? We have to actually use the width property and say that you have to use 50% of the width. Okay, now let's come down to this. We say width again, and again we say 50%, but you can see that it is still not looking that they are both in line. How it is? Because if I actually open this up, okay, it's not going there as well. So yeah, I have to deal with it somehow. So what it is saying, let's check. Okay, so step 39. Well, that did not work. Okay, that did not work. Styling the P element as inline block and placing them on separate lines in the code creates an extra space. Yeah, it is creating an extra space. Yeah, you can see that there is some space after this on its right. So that's what happening right now, causing the second one to shift to the next line. One way to fix this is to make each paragraph width a little less than 50%. So okay, yeah, we have to figure it out, like where it is good. Yeah, so at 49 it's good, it works at 49. So yeah, that's it. So similarly we have to do the same thing with the next as well, but that worked, but there is still a little space on the right of the price. Use the backspace key on your keyboard to move the paragraph element with the class price next to the P element. Could you see that this is actually this is a different block and this is a different block, but they are right now in line. Okay, so you can see that this is trying to say that we have to use the backspace to get this paragraph just next to the flavor. Okay, so just press enter, control enter, and you will see the result. Let's move to next step, that is step 41. Now, okay, let's change it to 50 again. It's saying yeah. Next step, now that you know it works, you can change the remaining article and the paragraph. Start by adding element item to the other article elements. Okay, so we just have to write class to be equal to item for this step and nothing more, because if we do that, it will trigger all those things to happen. By the way, there's this short trick here that you can do, but okay, I've completely done it, so that's it. Step 43. Now we have to make no position in between both of them. So what we can do, we can actually press alt key and click on these places where the cursor should be, and then just go where it should be. So now got there. Okay, so that's what we need to do. To complete the styling, add the applicable classes name. So we just have to add the names of the class to all of them. So you know the trick, press alt key and just put the cursor wherever it should be, and just write class equal to flavor. That's it. Okay, and then go to the next thing. You have to again make that thing. So be here, click on this class equal to price. So yeah, you can see it now, it's happening as we wanted it to be. Now next, if you make width of the page preview smaller, you will notice that at some point some of the text on the left starts wrapping around to the next line. So what it is saying, that if I actually do this, or actually no, actually I do this, so it will start to wrap to the next line. Okay, I think that is what they are trying to say. So what they are trying to say, if you make the width of the page preview smaller, yeah, if you make it smaller, you will notice at some point some of the text on the left starts wrapping around. So they're saying that this French word and the vanilla word, they come on top of each other after I do some wrapping of this screen. So when I make it smaller, it actually wraps, the text wraps. So to overcome this, what we will do, so what is there, by the way, you have to understand first of all, the flavor is actually the lengthy text. So we have to give a little more width, let's suppose 75%, and for the price we have to give it 25%. So now you can see, if I do the same thing now, it will not happen, because so this is all called responsiveness. This is what you're learning in this course. Step 46. So we just need to add a section here. So let's add a section for the desert section. That's it. So we have to add a heading h2 as deserts Now add an empty article element under the deserts with class as item. So we have to do the similar thing, and we have done it earlier as well. next is this only, that we have to add a paragraph named donut and then its price, and then we don't have to put any space between these two paragraphs, so we are having no spacing between these two paragraphs, so that's it. Now we again have to put the class as equal to desert, and in here you have to add price. That's it. So you could see it's actually happening in the similar way. Now we just have to add flavor. Flavor is already there as a CSS selector. We have to add desert as another one. Okay, we have to add a comma in here as well. Okay, put a comma as well. Now it's looking similar to the coffee section. Let's move ahead. Now step 52. So we just have to add the rest of the elements. It should be wrapped in an article, so I'm just putting in article in here, nothing much. So that's it. You just have to wrap your paragraphs inside the article. So this is your menu, and your menu is actually very closer to the sides of the borders, so you can actually give padding. So let me give some padding here, padding left. Okay, padding left equal to 20 pixels, padding right equal to 20 pixel. That's it. You can see that we have given some padding from left and from right as well, similar padding. So if there is a short trick for having these kind of paddings in just few lines of markup of CSS, but we'll do it. Yeah, so that's it. That is what I was trying to say, I guess. Now that looks better. Now try to add some. Okay, now we have to add same padding from bottom as well of 20 pixel. Now try to add some 20 pixel padding on the top and the bottom. Okay, so to give padding top also 20 pixels. That's it. So you can see that this is also having 20 pixels, this is also having 20 pixels, and they are also having 20 pixels in here. Now this is quite lengthy, so in short we can write it as padding equal to 20 pixels. So it will add padding in left, right, bottom, top as 20 pixels, so we don't have to write this much. So let me see if it is the next step. Yeah, so it is the next step. So we just have to write only padding as 20 pixels. So that's it. That's what we have to do, not that entire thing. Step 56. The current width of the menu will always take up 80% of the body. Elements width. On the very wide screen, the coffee and the dessert appear far apart from their prices. Okay. When I open it completely and I do it as a full screen, you can see that this menu is always taking 80% of the body, and the problem here is that this item is here but its price is actually very far from it. So they're actually having a long distance between them. So how do we actually go for it? Let's see. So let me just specify max width as 500 pixel, which means whatever happens, it will always be having maximum width of 500 pixels. Like let's suppose I am actually increasing the size of the screen, okay, but you can see that this much is actually 500 pixels, so it is not expanding from this, it's only remaining at this maximum width. So that's it. Earlier it was expanding as I was, when actually I was increasing the size of the screen, it was expanding, but not now. So let's move to next step. So step 57, you can change the font family of text to make it look different from the default font of your browser. Each browser has some common fonts available to it. Change all the text in your body by adding a font family property with the value sans serif. This is fairly common font. Okay, so inside body we have to add font family. Okay, font family as sans serif. That's it. You can see that we have changed our font. It's into sans serif now. Now let's move to step 58. So in this step, what we have to do, it is a bit boring for all the text to have the same font family. You can still have majority of the text sans serif and make just the h1 and h2 elements using the different selectors. So style both h1 and h2 elements so that these use font impact. h1, h2, font family. Here you have to add a fallback. So just add a comma and say serif. That's it. Let's move forward. Step 60. Now you have to make it italic. So what you need to do, you have to first grab this, okay, make establish this italicized by creating established class. Okay, so go here, okay, and inside this write class equal to established. Okay, come here, dot established. Okay, that's it. Now apply established class. Okay, so we have to put it here right now as established. I did that step earlier as well, but okay, just do it again. The typography of heading elements h1 and h2 is set by default values of user's browser. So we have to add some typography for this. Add new type selectors like h1, h2, add font size, property for both, okay, but use the value 40 for one and 30 for this. Okay. So you have to add basically 2 here, to add this twice. Font size 40 pixel. copy this. Now paste here 30. Okay, that's it. Now let's see what we have to do next. Step 63. Add a footer element below the main element where you can add some additional information. Okay, so we have to add a footer element here. Just going down. Yeah, so just this main section we have to add some footer element. Okay, that's it. Now inside this footer we have to add a paragraph. Okay, add a paragraph element, then nest an anchor tag element in the P that links to this. Okay, so we have to nest an anchor tag in here. Okay, which actually refers to this link. Okay, which refers to this link, and you have to put visit our website inside this anchor tag. That's it. Now we have to add another paragraph in here. Okay, let's add another paragraph. I have to write this thing, just copy it and paste it in here. That's it. Let's move to step 66. Now we have to use an HR, which is a horizontal rule. So a horizontal rule element is to display a divider between sections of different content. So let's put a divider after this established. Okay, so first add an HR element between paragraph with class established and first section of the element. Okay, so we have to add it somewhere here. Okay, somewhere here. So let's add an HR tag here. So remember that HR is cell closing. Okay, so no need to put another closing tag, just add HR only. Now we can actually change the HR and its some CSS and some CSS properties of it. Okay, first we have to select the HR, then we have to write its height as 3 pixels. Okay, you can see that it has increased in height. Now we have to write its color, which is its background color, by the way, not color. Which is brown. Okay, let's move to next step. We have to add the same color as the border as well. So let's add some border color. As brown. So that's it. Let's move to step 70. Now notice how the thickness of the line looks bigger. The default value of property named border width is 1 pixel for all edges of HR element. By changing the border to have same color as background, total height of the line is 5 pixels. So you could think of it like the border width is actually 1 pixel, so it it adds up with 3 pixel and makes it 5 pixel when it is increased from top and bottom. So we have to think of it and make this 3 pixel as 2 pixels, so it makes it 4 pixels in total height. That's it. Now step 71. So what it is saying, go ahead and add HR element between main and the footer. So we have to add another HR in here. Okay, HR. Now remember, this HR will also be having similar CSS properties as that of the first one, so we don't have to make some changes for it specifically. That is the use of styles.css in here. Now we have to give some padding to the body, so let's give some padding of 20 pixel. Okay, so you can see that when I give the padding, it is actually getting shrink, it is getting shrink, it is shrinking because the padding is given to body, okay, not this menu in here. Let's move to step 73. Okay, focusing on the menu items and prices, there is fairly large gap between each line, so target all paragraph elements nested in elements with class named item and set their top and bottom margin to be 5 pixel. Elements having class name and items, we have to add some margin in here of 5 pixel, and that's it. But it is changing the display of our thing, so we also have to add some other things. But what it is, using the same style selector in the previous step, make the font size of the items and the prices larger by using the value of 18 pixel. Okay, so you have to increase the size of the font. So to do that, we say font size as 18 pixel. Copy this and you just have to go down, just put it here and have some semicolon in here. That's it. Okay, so we have actually done something like we have decreased the distance between these two items. Also, we have changed the font size of these items, so you can see them clearly now. Now let's move to step 75. Changing the margin bottom to 5 pixel looks great. So margin bottom to 5 pixel looks great. However, now the space between cinnamon roll menu item and the second HR element does not match with the space between the top HR. So you can see that this is not having the same distance as of this. Here you go, got it? Because I think it's visible that it is taking more space than this, so we have to make both of them look alike. So to do that, add some more space by creating class name bottom line using 25 pixels for the top margin. Okay, margin top property. Okay, so you have to basically write a class name bottom line. Do not worry that you haven't written this class inside the HTML. We will be doing it soon. First, just add the margin top as 25 pixels and that's it. That's it. Okay, now we have to come in here and just have to write a class as bottom line. That's it. Now you could see that they both are having the same distance. Now next you are going to be styling the footer element. To keep the CSS organized, add a comment at the end of the style.css with the text footer. So you just have to add a comment. So there are many ways to add a comment, but the best way I think is nothing but typing control slash, so it makes it easily a comment. Now moving down to the footer element, make all the text have a 14 pixel of size. Okay, so for footer just have to write footer because it's just an element, and make the font size equal to 14 pixels. Okay, that's it. So you can see that now it is looking like a footer. Before it was not, because they both were having the same size. Now to make the footer links the same color regardless if a link has been visited, so you just have to write a, as you know that we have not used any anchor tag inside this menu except this link, so we just have to write a in here, and then we will use color as black. Okay, that's it. You could see now it is black. Now there is something called a colon visited. This is what you'll be using a lot of the times when you're working with CSS. So you just have to write the property name, and that is color, and the color should be gray when it has been visited. Okay, that's it. It means that when you have visited this link, then it will be changing its color to gray. Now there is some other thing as well, that is hover. So when you hover upon this link, this will change its color, okay, to brown. That's it. So you can see that when I hover on this link, it changes its color. Now you can change properties of a link when the link is actually being clicked by pseudo selector that looks like a active. So you can add a pseudo selector that is active. Okay, and you just have to write color as white. When you are just going to click on this link, then it will change its color to white. Step 83, to keep with the same color theme you have already been using, black and brown, change the color for when the link is visited to black. So when the link is visited, you should have it black rather than a gray color. Okay, and use brown for when the link is actually being clicked. So just add brown as the color. Okay, that's it. Now moving to step 84, let's see what we have to deal with. Now the menu text camper has different space from the top. Okay, it is having different space from top than the address space at the bottom of the menu. This is due to browser having some default top margin for h1 element. Change the top margin of h1 element to 0 to remove all the top margin. Okay, so you just have to add margin top, not top margin. Now it will say to remove some vertical space between h1, this h1 and this established. Okay, to remove this vertical space, change the bottom margin of h1 to 15 pixels. Okay, so we have to add some bottom margin to this h1. So margin bottom to 15 pixel. To decrease the default margin space below the address P element, create a class selector named address and use the value 5 pixel for the margin bottom property. You could easily see that this is having a little more space. So to deal with that, what we have to do, we have to add, to decrease the default margin space below the address P element, create a class selector name address. So you just have to add address, okay, and then write margin bottom 5 pixel dot here. Now step 87. Now apply the address class to the P. Okay, so you have to add the class in here as address okay. Now under the coffee heading, add the image using this URL. Okay, so this is a CDN image. Just add it. Just add it below the heading. So we have to add image in here equal to coffee icon. Okay. Okay, this should be SRC. Yeah. So we just now have to make it look good and just have to be aligned according to the menu. The image you just added is not centered horizontally, so you just have to make it in center. So use block for display. Okay, so add image, say display block, okay, and use applicable left and right margin. So margin from, if you actually write margin zero auto, this actually makes it in center, but okay, it works. Now you just have to write, okay, now again the same thing you have to do, similar thing. Okay, so write here image, add an alt attribute in here, pi icon, then src equal to this link. Okay, just add it and you are done. Now we have reached the, I think, last step of this module. So it would be nice if the vertical space between H2 element and their associated icons is smaller. Okay, so H2 element have default top bottom space, so you could change the bottom margin of H2 to 0. So what you could do, you just have to write margin. Okay, okay, so it is saying something different. Let's see what it is saying. There is an easier way. Simply add negative top margin to the image. So add some negative margin. Negative values are created using negative in front of the value. To complete this project, go ahead and use a negative top margin of 25 pixels in the image. Okay, so you have to add margin top, okay, negative 25 pixels. That's it. So you could see that the image is actually closer to the heading. So that's it, it completes this project. Okay, so we've completed this. Learn basic CSS by building a cafe menu.